Hey guys, Eric and Joshua here to talk about DC's Legends of Tomorrow. We've seen the first 2 episodes, so we're going to discuss them. We're not going to go into full spoilers, but this is just kind of our overall thoughts. Joshua, what are your overall thoughts on DC's Legends of Tomorrow?
I thought it was good. Just on like a pure comic book fan level, the fact that we're getting a DC Comics team-up show on TV it blows my mind. And they do a good job. Obviously, there's a lot of kind of getting things going, like struggles and a few things that don't quite work perfectly, but I feel like they're setting the groundwork to do what I feel would be like a really interesting, awesome, and unique superhero TV show.
Yeah. I think the first episode, it's weird because on one hand, it's a spinoff of Arrow and Flash, and they spent a lot of time setting up these characters, some would say to the detriment of Arrow and the Flash this fall a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they want to be accessible to new people just in case. So I felt like the first half of the first episode especially is a bit clunky, just because they kind of have to go through that thing of the very heavy exposition, lots of explanation, some of which if you have watched the other shows is going to be repeating information. But once they kind of get to it, it's hard. Yeah, it's very fun.
Yeah.
And it is kind of an amazing time, right, that we're getting this show.
Yeah. It's sort of a trope in comic books that, from reading a lot of comic books, I'm tired of. Every time they launch a new comic book with a team, there's that mandatory going around to every character and recruiting them and explaining why they're a part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a big smile on my face because it was happening in live action on TV. I was like, I don't mind this trope. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's not like we've gotten a lot of this on TV at all.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of, it's pretty impressive how quickly this has grown.
It is a big cast, and I do think it was impressive of how, by doing that scene where Rip Hunter goes and collects everybody, you get a very strong flavor for each character, and you kind of understand who they are and where they're coming from in a very short amount of time. So I thought it was efficiently done the way they did it.
Yeah, so let's talk about the team a bit. Again, big cast, lots of characters. Who's a standout to you? Is there anyone you're sort of really interested in moving forward?
Huge surprise, but Heatwave is the best part of this. He's the most entertaining. He's the funniest. I'm always just I want to see Heatwave with this character. I want to see more of him. I want to see him in the mix more.
I actually have to agree with you on that, in that going into this show was, because Heatwave wasn't initially announced and then he was added, and you're kind of like, do you need him A, on top of Captain Cold, and B, on top of Firestorm?
Yeah, it's there's a lot of crossover there.
Right, but then, he's just really fun because whereas they get to play Captain Cold more as I'm not a hero, but maybe within me I am, Heatwave just doesn't give a damn,
Yeah.
And they kind of get to play him as the brawler and the drinker, and having him and Canary and White Canary actually kind of bounce off each other. That does kind of show you the fun they can have of taking these very odd different characters and sort of throwing them together.
Yeah, and I also thought it was interesting of how, I don't want to get into too big of a spoiler here, but this is a weird group, right? And there's no big A-listers on the team.
Right.
You think if I were Rip Hunter and I need to go to assemble a team throughout time to solve a big problem, take down a guy like Vandal Savage, that I would go for Superman and Batman and Green Lantern stuff,
or even the Flash.
Yeah,
in
the
this
Flash
universe.
and Arrow, even
right.
But they have a very specific reason to why they did not, and I thought that was great, and that was sort of the emotional hook for me that got me really invested. And I was like, oh, well, now I want to see where they go from here. So I thought that was solved very well.
Yeah, I agree. I do wonder, it is a team show, it's an ensemble, but there usually tends to be sort of a focal point central character. Can't quite get a read on that in this show yet. What they do with the Atom is kind of interesting. It builds on what they've done in Arrow already about the fact that he was kind of forgotten and kind of what that means to him and him kind of trying to prove himself. Rip Hunter, I guess, is the biggest question mark because he's the one character we've never seen before and could be that character, but there's so much sort of story building in these first 2 episodes. And I like Arthur Darvill a lot, but I still don't quite know if there is anyone who's going to be that's the center of the show. Or do you think that needs that?
I do think they need that.
Yeah.
It is such a big show.
Yeah.
And you're right. It doesn't feel like anyone's the main character yet.
Right.
But yet each character manages to have their little moments and stuff. But I do think it should sort of. I feel like they tried to do it with Rip Hunter, but didn't quite take. It was a little too generic, his reason for doing exactly what he's doing. And so I was a little put off by it. I was like, you're going to need more than that. But again, this is a show I feel like that is trying to just do so much setup right now.
Right.
And I really do feel like in the long run, it will build into something much more.
Yeah, I feel like the Flash of, counting all the sort of Berlanti DC shows, including Supergirl, even if it's on another network, the Flash is the one that was right out of the gate kind of the most fully formed. This is not that, but there is still a lot of potential, and there is a lot to enjoy. You did mention Vandal Savage, though. I do want to talk about him because this was a concern I did have on the Flash Arrow crossover when we met him. This is an entire show built around them, a team gathering to stop this guy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's living up to sort of the hype of what they need for a villain that gets that much sort of build up and that much significance. Yeah, we see that he's conquered the world in the future and done terrible things, but as a character, I'm not that engaged yet.
He's just not the most compelling villain.
Yeah.
You know, when I think of like great villains, I think of like on the sort of TV front, I think of Deathstroke.
Yeah.
Whenever he was on screen, I got a little nervous. Or like even Damien Dark. He's really good, and I can sort of feel that the danger radiating off of him.
Flash.
Wells was a great one. Yeah. Just whenever he was in the room, you're always like on edge, right?
Yeah.
When Vandal Savage, they haven't really done enough to make him to get him up to that level. And the only time I felt he was a real big threat was in the crossover when he had the staff and he was like, super powerful. But then I realized that it was the fact that he had so much power, not his character, that I was worried about.
So. He comes off a little sort of campy and goofy.
Yeah.
And I don't know, they keep talking about sort of like how bad and evil he is, but I hope that at some point we can really feel that as an audience.
Yeah.
But I feel like, the second episode, it's like, you see that the show's gonna kind of go for big things and big, twists and turns. And I like the time travel aspect a lot. We were talking before we started filming about like they go to the 70s. It's kind of the first place they go, which they've shown in the trailers. And they're just, it's a big reach for Arrow and the Flash, which have already established universe. And now we're gonna have this show that's really sci-fi. They're in like a spaceship, basically. And it impresses me, sort of the scope of where they're going with all this.
Yes, it's impressive that we have Flash, we have Arrow, and we have Supergirl on another network. We have these like different superhero shows, yet this is a new flavor.
Yeah.
This is completely different, even though they're familiar faces, and we know like their backstories from having watched these other shows. But it's definitely new and it's interesting, and I definitely want to see where it goes.
Yeah, same here. So those are our initial thoughts on Legends Tomorrow. I think we're both in the level of it's a good start, but there's a lot of kind of cool, interesting places they can go that we hope to see them go. So let us know. It debuts this week on Thursday. Let us know what you think when you see it, and for plenty more on Legends of Tomorrow and DC characters on TV. And there's a new show every week, it seems. Keep it here at IGN.